up on the Gold Coast right now. They bring in Jamara Ugle-Hagan, who has a lot of talent. Can he put it together on the football field? Let's see. Christian Petrarca, a massive star added to their ranks. They lose Ben Ainsworth, Connor Butterick, Braden Fiorini, Sam Flanders, and Malcolm Roses Jr. So players with a lot of potential, but weren't sort of getting the money or the game time at Gold Coast. With the squeeze, with these stars coming in and the plethora of high-end talent, Gold Coast are scary, boys.
I wonder if there has been a player with more trade-linked articles on him in the competition than Braden Fiorini. Because I reckon it's like 4 or 5.
Of all of the things that the Gold Coast Suns did, that's where you start.
I reckon like if it was a way to find, like filter through all of like Google and find every article about a trade involving Braden Fiorini, I reckon you go past the last 5 like trade periods, and then eventually it's happened. And then I'm half convinced he's going to play at a third club in 2027.
I thought he went to Essendon.
He did, yeah, he did. But I just mean like it's going to continue.
It's going to continue. What is it about Braden Fiorini that makes him such a like memeable player in the AFL? Like he's a guy that's always flirting on the edge of best 22 or not.
Yeah.
But he just seems to be a factor at the same time. Like his name outweighs his actual performance.
Yeah, I mean, the thing with him is he's just dominated the VFL as well. Like, you know, he's just such a high volume player that he's just constantly like that depth player for the Gold Coast Suns. And I guess it got to a point where now they really didn't need him. Whereas before there was, I guess, always an argument for keeping him and possibly relatively well paid to, given Gold Coast kind of inflated their contracts there for a little while. But
Lower class Brum says Fiorini is a fantasy guy. That's why. I think that is actually a bit part of
That's
it.
true, yeah.
Yeah, the high volume stuff. So what do we think about, I think, getting into some of the bigger moves that they did? What can Christian Petrarca and Jamara Ugle-Hagan do for this team?
You spoke about it the other day about Christian Petrarca's player rating. Like, I've never actually looked into that metric particularly, but it really hasn't dropped off as much as people think. A lot of people have put a line through Christian Petrarca as a player. He's still an explosive inside mid that can go forward and make an impact. And what an addition it is to that young team. You know, Anderson, Rao, Miller's been there for a while. Bailey Humphrey, he's been there and done it. He's reached the pinnacle of football and he's now joined a system that is trying to get there. So that experience as well as the on-field ability is
I think if you combine
run.
that too with Petrarca compared to, say, like a lot of clubs have done that in the past, like North in the last couple of years have gone after Luke Parker and Caleb Daniel and Jack Darling, guys who've won a flag, but they've actually brought in a guy who's done it and is still roughly in the prime of his career.
Yeah.
I think to explain the player rating for Christian Petrarca this season, I think he probably started a little bit slowly back off the injury, but he also missed a lot of opportunities this year, which so did Melbourne as a whole. So I think a lot of that you can actually put down to system a bit. They seem to generate more difficult chances than the opposition and miss a lot of easier chances as well, just how they play. They go deep into the pockets and those sorts of things. So I think in that Gold Coast team and how they play, he'll have a lot more opportunity and he won't be so much of the focal point as well.
Yeah, he had a pretty solid season in a really struggling system where the coach got sacked. And then they bring in Jamara Ugle-Hagan, who has shown great ability. Probably hasn't put it together as much as he would have liked, but he'll get a fresh start up on the Gold Coast and could really make waves up there as well. And they're obviously going to bring in some high-end talent as well. So,
is there a single other Premiership player in their best 22 at the moment?
A Premiership player?
Yeah, Gold Coast.
Dan Rioli?
Yes, thank you.
Good one.
All right, yeah, I knew that I was likely forgetting someone, but still, obviously not many.
Noble famously missed.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
So not him, but yeah, no, that's a good shout.
Yeah.
So they're clearly going for that. And again, Rioli's another one where still in the prime of his career.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Similar
Yeah.
to Petrarca. So they're not just going for pure leadership, they're going for on-field performance as well.
Just another player you have to be concerned about at the Gold Coast Suns now, like genuinely. Like Rao does his thing and Anderson is the player you probably want to shut down in that midfield. Tuke Miller, obviously another player that you've got to maybe not like consider. He's so good, but he's not someone you really send someone to. But Petrarca definitely is, and he can turn a game.
I don't think you can send a player to Tuke Miller. I feel like he's one of those untaggable players.
Like Rao as well, I would say, is in the same boat.
Well, that's in the past, the Gold Coast Suns have had the problem of being unbalanced, in my opinion. It's been too much quality. Well, you can never have too much quality in the midfield, but compared to everything else. So they've invested too heavily in the midfield. Now it's starting to get this nice spread.
Yeah.
Where they've brought in Rioli and Noble, so their halfbacks are good. They brought in Collins, who has gone to another level.
Yeah.
It's just
he's
a
been
really
there for a while now, but
Yeah.
I get your point.
It's sort of like system under Hardwick's come into the fore. They've got a more balanced team. Everybody's coming into that perfect age profile, and it's gonna click.
It's literally on them. They have every single piece that they need now. Bailey Humphrey zipping around that forward line. I saw it firsthand in Perth, how much of a threat he is in front of goal. So, maybe he doesn't get as much midfield time, but he can make as much of an impact in that half forward.
They've got so much flexibility now with Petrarca, though, because they can just move those two around to make impact whenever one's hot. They can just put them in. People saying Humphrey is going to be gone, but, wait and see on that when Gold Coast win a premiership and then see if he wants to leave.
Yeah, that's true.
Is what I'd say about that. And I think he's a little bit similar to like Cozzy Pickett and Nasiah, where it's like we'll see what the club does in 2 years, or whenever his contract runs out.
They're gonna be aware of how strong the come home factor was, and they're gonna do absolutely everything they can to keep him there. Also on the Suns, I think people in the broader football world don't appreciate how good that back six actually is with Collins, Andrews. Who's the guy that's missed a lot of footy? Centre half back.
Ballard.
He's a good player. He missed the entire season. He's a gun.
Yeah,
he's
true.
an absolute gun. Ewland
does not get spoken about enough.
Powell. He's underrated.
Yeah. Powell, Rioli and Noble.
Yeah, I've mainly seen him play as a midfield, but he doesn't look out of place as well. So he'll play up the ground at times.
He probably maybe he has, but recently he has been pretty much a running defender. But he could be the best of those three, like Noble, Rioli, and him. He's probably the most talented.
They are ridiculously strong in defence with Mac Andrew and the guys I just mentioned. So, scary prospect.
We could also see some movement around next year around guys in particular like Jed Walter. Like if Jamari Ugle-Hagan comes out to be the best case scenario, I think you can watch. That's a watch this space. Absolutely. And Ben King obviously with a big one. So actually those two are probably connected. Ben King goes, Jed Walter might not. And vice versa.
There's a question in the chat from Lewis.
I just saw that.
Can we have a poll put up? Who will win a flag first? Freo, Suns or GWS?
Can you do that for us, producer Vic? Lovely.
We're going to get that.
Lovely. We've got 258 on the chat. My only potential criticism of this, and it's one of those ambiguous, subjective ones, but just the Jamara Ugle-Hagan situation, I was probably a little bit critical just in the sense of like, do they need to do this and take on the risk because of how good their list is? You love it though, Drews.
It's a free hit.
Yeah, I actually think it's less risky when you're culturally sound, and I feel like the Gold Coast Suns are finally there. And I actually think it's to the point where he may not actually disrupt them that much compared to maybe pre-Hardwick. If he'd gone there, when it was Stewie Jew and they were still trying to find their feet as a club, really, then I think it would be more of a threat. I actually think they're in a stronger position than ever to take on a Jamara and cope with the potential distractions.
That's a fair point. That is a very fair point. And they didn't pay much for him on either draft capital or salary.
That's right.
So you've twisted my arm a little bit there, I would say.
Any threat of them failing to match bids for Dylan Patterson, I think Ezekiel Ewland is safe. And I think as it currently sits, picks 3 and 4 will be matchable as it currently stands. But West Coast obviously have picks 1 and 2 and failed to get a deal done for Gold Coast pick 8, and I do wonder if they could make things a little bit awkward for the Gold Coast Suns.
They could make it awkward, but as you said, they can go into a deficit.
Yes.
I think it would be very unlikely that they didn't match. I reckon it's unlikely that they'll take any of the guys past Patterson.
Yes.
But Ewland and Patterson for me would be pieces that they just wouldn't let slide.
Yeah.
So I think it's unlikely. Do you think from a West Coast point of view, there is any likelihood that you would want to do that to them? To push them?
It's not really in our nature to be so openly antagonistic, but at the end of the day, it is a competition. And if West Coast want, say, Dylan Patterson, they'd need to bid on both at 1 and 2 to make it really difficult for the Gold Coast Suns. And at least from a talent point of view, there's no risk of I don't think West Coast are unhappy if they end up accidentally with one of those players.
Yep.
But will that affect trade relationships in the future? I think that's something West Coast would be wary on. So I'm just curious what plays out here. I'm not necessarily going to predict one thing or the other.
The poll is up 77%. Think the Suns, 21%, including myself. Think Freo, and then 3% for the Giants.
I would agree with that order.
We'll see how that goes in some time.
Yeah, well, you can't argue when they literally kicked us out of finals this year. I think it's pretty fair to say that.
Yeah.
Who's got better talent? Of those 3 teams?
I think now it's the Suns.
Yeah.
before that, I would have had to have thought about it, but with Petrarca in, and if you consider the raw talent of Jamara, then I think that swings it pretty clearly a Gold Coast way.
Yeah, I think so as well.
But as teams, there was nothing really, not much splitting them this year. Like they played each other once. Both away teams won a close game. Like it was pretty level.
Yeah.
Lower Class Brum says Frio's list is more impressive than the Suns. That's questionable.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
the
debatable.
midfield is probably... It's really tough to compare our midfields when you go Sarong, Young, Brayshaw, Anderson, Rao. Oh, you got Petrarca.
I like comparing
They've
their
got more
midfields.
depth, their midfield for sure.
They're also going to add Ewell and Patterson.
Yeah.
You know, if it was the other way around and Fremantle were adding the top two or two of the top four maybe, then maybe that would swing it the other way as well. But if we're just talking raw talent, Gold Coast.
I do like comparing though their like just their starting midfields because they're both young and they do have like similar. You could go Sarong for Rao, Anderson for Brayshaw, or maybe you'd actually go Brayshaw for Miller.
Am I crazy to say that I'd take our forward line ahead of theirs? I don't think so.
The entire
I'd take
line?
Voss and Tracy ahead of like King and Walter right now.
Yeah, Voss
and Reed.
Voss.
They're just so consistent.
Tracy's one there for me. He's number one.
Voss had as good a season as Tracy did, I reckon.
Yeah, he did. Does that mean, but like, you know what I mean? There are some players that you would, like he was a rookie delisted from Essendon.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot more growth in like Reed, Walter.
Yeah.
Those guys.
Yeah, we're talking top 10 picks there. Jed Walter picked 3.
But very close as displayed by our 2 games we had this year. We beat them by a single figure margin up at the Gold Coast and then they beat us in the last minute of the final. But there you go. Just an expansion club chat.
Had a super chat here from Lewis. Says, imagine West Coast use pick 1 for Patterson and then pick 2 for Ewland. I think if West Coast wanted Patterson, they'd have to bid on him second.
They wanted Patterson, they have to bid. Yeah, but I reckon he's coming at it more from the perspective of you don't want them, you just want them to match, right? So he's going Patterson first because it's actually making them.
It makes it harder for Ewland.
I guess it's making them question whether they actually take Patterson because like it's saying is that the line where it's over to take him because it's assuming they rate Ewland better.
Yeah.
So you're testing them with Patterson.
Yeah, and then West Coast have the second pick, so could then go Dersma. So it doesn't really matter if Patterson's the first pick.
Yeah.
It's an interesting dynamic.
It feels a little bit too mentalist though, doesn't it? Like we're kind of, I don't know, like it's too...
It'd be a bold move from West Coast. I would like it though, to be honest.
It would be fun.
Yeah, I would support it.
I wish like the recruiting and list management was a little bit more like that.
Yeah.